Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Live Chat with James, coming to you from the ProPix TV studios here in Vancouver, British Columbia. Tonight, we're going to take a look at some top headlines from here in the Surrey region, as well as Metro Vancouver, Canada, and of course, top stories from around the globe. In this episode, we'll also follow up with some further details on several topics, including the growing anger between India and Washington, D.C. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his administration are very angered at Trump's reported lies about being involved in the ceasefire agreement and other issues that we'll cover in more depth. Also, in terms of anger being pointed towards the Trump family, people are taking exception with Don Trump Jr. on social media. Now, we all know that the Trump administration and his family are big piles of crap. But what has led this most recent outrage is the fact that Don Jr. is calling out the fact that Joe Biden has late-stage colon cancer, and he's accusing Jill Biden of being incompetent for recognizing the signs or diagnosing it earlier. People online are, of course, angered by this lack of control and this lack of compassion shown by the Trump family. But at this point, it really shouldn't come as much surprise, as we know the Trumps are definitely out for themselves and really don't care about anybody else. As that goes, we will cover those two stories in a bit more detail later on in the show. But welcome to the program. Just so you're aware, we are available for those of you on the go. You can find the episodes and ProPix TV on Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and almost all other podcasting platforms. So if you are on the go, you can download and take the podcast with you. Don't forget that we, of course, always appreciate you following, and subscribing here to help push the numbers up in the algorithms and, of course, get the message out to the broader community. Now, let's start in Surrey, where the community is making headlines. And this story is quite nice and heartwarming that Surrey's Justin Simperios is still celebrating his $80 million lottery win, the largest single jackpot awarded to a single person in Canadian history. The local worker is planning to support Surrey charities, sparking excitement about the potential community benefits. But of course, he has a family, and we wish him and his family all of the best with their newfound fortunes. We'll keep you updated on his plans if they become public. Other than that, we will respect their privacy going forward. With the Surrey Board of Education cutting back on various programs, including elementary school band programs, special education assistance, and others, education funding is under scrutiny here in the city of Surrey and within the Surrey School District. Now, the parents and students actually rallied outside of a Surrey school recently, demanding more provincial support to address overcrowding classrooms. Also, the lack of resources and outdated resources in other instances. Now, the Ministry of Education has yet to comment, but the pressure is on. In crime news, Surrey police are probing a suspicious house fire that damaged multiple homes last Friday. No injuries were reported, but authorities are seeking public tips. This follows another recent arson case raising safety concerns in the community. If you have any information about this or other crimes in the Surrey community, you can reach out to the Surrey Police Department, or you can go to Crime Stoppers and give an anonymous tip there. On a lighter note, check out Refracted, a stunning digital art exhibit that's happening at Surrey Civic Plaza. This free display of BC landscapes runs nightly and is perfect for a family outing, especially as the weather turns nicer. As the weather is a concern, of course, it's going to be a little brighter and sunnier tomorrow for the Victoria Day holiday. And if you are in Surrey, Metro Vancouver, or the region at all, don't forget that the Cloverdale Rodeo and Fair is still going. Tomorrow will be the last day of the annual event, so make sure that you get out and enjoy it while the weather is cooperative. Now let's shift over to some news coming out, of Vancouver this Victoria Day weekend. Now, Vancouver police have arrested a 21-year-old charged with 2 murders, one in Vancouver and one in Surrey. This is after a 2-year investigation. The cases are unrelated, but they have reignited public safety debates in Surrey and in Vancouver as well. The details on these cases are relatively scarce, given that they are still going before the courts, and we'll keep you up to date as they head to court and more information is available. The Lapu Day Festival is still in the news, and it continues to resonate with Vancouver's Filipino and other communities. Posts on X describe a driver ramming into the crowds, leaving multiple dead. The 30-year-old suspect is in custody, but official updates are pending. The tragedy has prompted calls for better festival security. In light of those calls, the city of Vancouver has wasted no time in ordering and receiving new blockades to allow streets to be cordoned off from vehicles and such future attacks. This shows the city's commitment to the safety of all persons within the city when there are community events and large gatherings. Now, in sports, the Vancouver Canucks have signed prospect Tom Willander to an entry-level 3-year contract, boosting fan excitement. This should be noted that we have also learned that Adam Foote is the new head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, so a lot of changes coming up in this season in the fall. We will watch and see as training camp gets closer and we start to find out who is going to make the team for hopefully an exciting season ahead of us. That said, as the playoffs continue right now, Toronto was bumped out of the playoff run, losing Game 7. And again, to our Toronto fans, oh well. Oh, sorry. Supposed to be sad for Toronto, I think. But in any event, with Victoria Day events still going on, such as the Fort Langley Day, May Day, and Vancouver's All-British Car Show, the city's alive with celebrations. So if you're out in Fort Langley, remember the May Day celebrations. And if you're in Vancouver, the All-British Car Show. Again, there are many other events that are keeping this city alive with celebrations. And again, of course, the Cloverdale Rodeo and Fair. If you have been out this weekend enjoying some of the activities, by all means, feel free to upload some videos or images to show us how you've spent this Victoria Day long weekend. In terms of the navigating of challenges and triumphs, we're going to move on from Vancouver to national news around Canada. Now, of course, Canada is marking the Victoria Day long weekend, but stories keep grabbing attention. And one of those, of course, is the opioid crisis that we did a feature on just a few nights ago. This remains a national concern, with posts online highlighting its toll on BC residents and beyond. Experts are pushing for more treatment and harm reduction programs as overdose rates climb once again. Local health authorities in Surrey and Vancouver are stepping up efforts, but advocates demand federal action. Here in BC, there are drought concerns approaching this summer. In environmental news, BC is, as I said, facing drought worries due to low snowpack and early snowmelt. Record low river flows on Vancouver Island, the South Coast, and other areas make BC a net electricity importer, yet once again, residents are urged to conserve water. With that stated, of course, we need to make sure that our water resources are protected from, overusage. We need that not only in hydroelectric generation, but also we need to be able to rely upon those as we approach the wildfire season. Of course, very, very important that people also, as we reach the first major long weekend of the summer, to take action to prevent forest fires and wildfires throughout British Columbia and around the world. Now to some sweeter news. Vancouver Island University has set a record for the world's largest Nanaimo bar last week. The massive treat drew crowds and smiles across BC, and if you don't know what's in a Nanaimo bar, well, you'll have to Google search it. The running joke in Canada, of course, is what's in a Nanaimo bar? People say it's full of bikers and hookers, but that's Nanaimo. In any event, let's take a look at some more news that's coming in from around the world. Now, as we know, former U.S. President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. His office announced this on Sunday. The 82-year-old who stepped down as president earlier this year, or was stepped away from re-election and running in the election that saw Trump win, of course, is reviewing treatment options with his family. The cancer is reportedly hormone sensitive, allowing for effective management, though medical experts note early detection is critical for such cases. Political leaders, including Donald Trump and former President Barack Obama, have sent well wishes, with Obama praising Biden's resolve and grace. Biden's diagnosis has also spotlighted his cancer moonshot initiative, launched after his son Beau's death from brain cancer in 2015. We wish him well in this fight, and of course, we also have seen other world leaders and former world leaders, including Justin Trudeau, reach out and thank him for his friendship over many years and offering the words of support to both Joe Biden and, of course, Jill and the rest of the family. As we do here from ProPix TV, we wish them all well and a speedy recovery. Now, colon cancer is something that is close to my heart. Unfortunately, it is a very predominant cause of death in my family and is genetically detectable. If you have family members with a history of colon cancer and other colorectal cancers, then it may be something for you to look into in terms of DNA testing for what is referred to as Lynch syndrome. Now, of course, we also, or you may have heard, Donald Trump Jr. once again jumping on line to blame Jill Biden for not detecting the cancer earlier and asking if there was a cover-up. All kinds of garbage that we would expect to be kept to themselves. But of course, this is the Trump family. Even though Trump has put out his best wishes for Joe Biden and Jill Biden and the family, we know that Trump really is just paying lip service. He actually has no care about anybody in the world but himself. And his family goes on to prove that in a very cold and calculated post. And to quote exactly as Don Trump Jr. put it on X, formerly Twitter, he said, "What I want to know is how did Dr. Jill Biden miss stage 5 metastatic cancer? Or is this yet another cover-up? First of all, Don Jr., it's none of your fucking business. Second of all, he was leaving office as president, so he has no need to tell you shit. And when you go on and look at this, losing count of how many points I can make on this, but stage 5 metastatic cancer, first of all, it's not stage 5. It's a little different than that, so you need to figure out what you're talking about, first of all. Second of all, it is not always an easy, clear cut for diagnosis. When the symptoms with colon cancer may not be easy to notice in the early stages. It may not be noticeable with symptoms until much later. When the symptoms do appear, they often arise as the cancer grows and affects surrounding tissue. Common symptoms include change in bowel habits, rectal bleeding, abdominal pain, and fatigue. Now, honestly, for the Trump family, any member of them to come out with such a tweet is just disgusting and shows how reprehensible that entire family is. Just disgusting. But in interest for our viewers here, let's take a look at some other, a bit further elaboration on colorectal cancers. Now, in their initial stages, they are often asymptomatic, meaning they don't produce noticeable symptoms. Symptoms that do show in later stages typically emerge as the cancer progresses and the tumor grows, potentially affecting surrounding tissues and organs. Now, common symptoms associated with colon cancer include changes in bowel habits such as diarrhea, constipation, or a feeling of incomplete bowel emptying. Rectal bleeding or blood in the stool, which can be bright red or dark colored. Also, you can notice abdominal pain, discomfort, or cramps, fatigue, weakness, and unexplained weight loss. Now, these are some of the symptoms, and again, it's not all of them, nor do all people present the same. So it's not that you should be looking for all of these, but any combination of these symptoms is definitely worth talking to your doctor about. Now, the importance of routine screening is, of course, very important, such as colonoscopies, and maybe that's where the screening comes in, but they are crucial for early detection, as many cancers are diagnosed during these screenings before the symptoms actually become apparent. Now, other things that you can look at are the fact that some of the signs of colon cancer can mimic other conditions, and some of the symptoms of colon cancer that can be similar to those of other less serious symptoms and conditions, and that again makes it that much more important to talk to doctors if you are finding any of the above warning signs or indicators. Again, you may misdiagnose yourself. So again, talk to your doctor if you have any concerns or any of those symptoms. Once again, as I said, early detection and treatment significantly improve the chances of successful treatment and long-term survival. Now, once again, there are different genetic programs out there. For example, in the British Columbia region, you can reach out to the Genetic Counseling and Cancer Program at the University of British Columbia. You can find more information on Lynch syndrome and other screenings that are available through DNA. Now, essentially what that does is provides DNA markers or raises awareness of these DNA markers that could indicate a much higher level of the risk of cancer to yourself. With it being genetic as well, you need to look at both previous generations and future generations in terms of your information and screening. The bright side to this, of course, is that with earlier detection, you can get earlier treatment, which, of course, doesn't guarantee, but it sure adds comfort to the fact that it can be a much more satisfactory outcome in the long run. So again, if you have any of those symptoms, I encourage you to talk to your doctor about that and to get checked. As we continue on, we see that there is also a lot of information coming out of Moscow, and that has to do with a big cryptocurrency arrest. Yes, there has been an arrest in Moscow dealing with cryptocurrency of all things. Now, the arrest of Vladimir Smirkis, a co-founder of crypto project Blum, is rattling investors. Detained in Moscow on May the 17th for alleged fraud tied to a $15 million loss, Smirkis' case is trending on social media. It also raises questions about Blum's planned token airdrop and crypto stability. Meanwhile, in Kenya, a corruption scandal at the University of Nairobi has led to the arrest of 4 council members, including chairperson Professor Amakawa Anjibwe. I believe I probably mispronounced that. But that is in relation to abuse of office. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is investigating, fueling debates about institutional governance in the country. Now, in the UK, jockey Oisin Murphy rode lead artist to victory at the Boyle Sports Lockage Stakes at Newbury Racecourse. This win sets the stage for Queen Anne Stakes at Royal Ascot, thrilling race fans. Yes, that is pretty exciting in that world of sports and in the UK. Now, let's take a quick peek at the weather forecast. As I said earlier, it looks like you're in for some sunny weather with a bit of clouds tomorrow. or later today, as I should say. Victoria day forecast is sunny. We expect that here in Surrey, it will reach highs of 18 degrees Celsius and 17 degrees Celsius in Vancouver. Perfect for the outdoors. So again, with all those events happening around the city, get out and enjoy it as the rest of the week ahead brings sun and showers. So keep your umbrellas ready throughout the rest of the week. In our community spotlight, once again, kudos to the organizers of Surrey's first South Surrey Job Fair last week at Bayside Rugby Clubhouse. The event connected youth with employers with plans already set for next year after a successful event this year. And also something we covered earlier in the week, a big congratulations to over 240 Surrey school employees. And they were honored for 25 and 50 years of service to the students and the community of Surrey. Also, a special shout out to Eva Meisner of Surrey Traditional School for 50 years of dedication. Thank you to all of you for taking the time to educate the students in the city and bring a better positive spin to the nightly news as we share your dedication and shine the light on you. Now, as I said, in Surrey, the $80 million win promises community benefits while education rallies and suspicious fire keep the city in focus. Here we are to wrap up tonight's top stories. Vancouver grapples with a double murder arrest and festival tragedy, but we also turn around and look at the Canucks news. Nationally, the opioid crisis and drought concerns loom large alongside a record-breaking Nanaimo bar. Globally, former U.S. President Joe Biden faces an aggressive prostate cancer diagnosis, while the Trump family just proves what big assholes they are. Joined by a crypto scandal in Russia and university scandal in Kenya. By all means, if you haven't seen the full show, just scroll back on the options here and catch it from the beginning. Once again, thank you for tuning in for the headlines. As we move past the headlines of the day, we are going to take a closer look at a very big story, and that is the rift that is happening between India and the United States. Now, when Trump first won re-election in November of 2024, India's leadership under Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended a cautious but optimistic hand. Modi, a master of international optics, saw Trump's America First doctrine as a potential complement to India's own Self-Reliant India campaign. The two nations had forged a strong bond during Trump's first term with high-profile moments like the Namaste Trump rally in Ahmedabad. That happened in 2022, cementing their personal rapport. Trade deals, defense pacts, and a shared skepticism of China's regional ambitions kept the relationship robust. Now, Trump's campaign promises of economic nationalism and a hardline stance on immigration didn't initially raise alarms in New Delhi, India. After all, it was a strategic ally, not a rival. The Quad Alliance, comprising of the US, India, Japan, and Australia, was thriving, and the US investments in India tech and manufacturing were at an all-time high. Indian diplomats anticipated that Trump's second term would deepen this partnership, with Modi's government hoping to secure favorable trade terms and stronger military cooperation to counter China's influence in the Indo-Pacific. But beneath the surface, cracks were already forming. The first spark of discontent came in January of 2025 when Trump's administration unveiled a sweeping set of tariffs aimed at protecting American industries. Citing the need to bring jobs back to America, the U.S. imposed a 25% tariff on a wide range of imported goods, including Indian pharmaceuticals, textiles, and software services. India, which exported nearly $90 billion worth of goods to the U.S. annually, was hit hard. The Indian pharmaceutical industry, a global leader in generic drugs, faced a crisis. American hospitals reliant on affordable Indian generics saw costs skyrocket, but Trump's rhetoric framed the tariffs as a necessary blow against foreign dependence. In India, however, the move was seen as a betrayal. Small and medium-sized enterprises in cities like Hyderabad and Mumbai laid off thousands of workers, and industry leaders accused the U.S. of undermining a critical ally. Social media platforms such as X buzzed with outrage with hashtags such as hashtag Trump betrays India, and that was trending across the subcontinent. Modi's government responded with retaliatory tariffs on American goods, targeting agricultural products like almonds and apples, which hit U.S. farmers hard. The tit-for-tat escalation strained bilateral trade talks, and the Indian commentators began questioning whether Trump's America First mantra left any room for his allies. "He treats us like adversaries, not partners," wrote a prominent columnist in the Times of India. The sentiment was echoed in chai stalls and boardrooms alike. Now, as we look at the H-1B hammer, if tariffs were the spark, Trump's immigration policies were the gasoline on the fire. In February 2025, the administration announced a drastic overhaul of the H-1B visa program, a lifeline for Indian tech professionals seeking opportunities in the Silicon Valley. Citing abuse of the system, Trump capped the number of visas at historic lows and introduced stringent eligibility criteria, effectively pricing out many Indian applicants. The move was part of a broader crackdown on immigration, but for India, it felt personal. The Indian tech industry, which had long viewed the U.S. as a land of opportunity, was blindsided. Companies like Infosys and Tata Consultancy Services, which relied on the H-1B visa to deploy skilled workers to American clients, faced operational chaos. In Bengaluru, India's tech capital, protests erupted outside U.S. consulates with young engineers burning effigies of Trump. "We built their tech giants and now they slam the door in our faces," one demonstrator told a local news channel. The Indian diaspora in the U.S., numbering over 4 million, felt the sting acutely. Many had supported Trump's economic policies, but the visa restrictions alienated even his staunchest supporters. Indian American community leaders, once vocal advocates for U.S.-India ties, began organizing town halls to voice their frustrations. On social media, posts from prominent Indian Americans accused Trump of economic xenophobia, amplifying the anger back in India. Modi, under pressure from his tech-savvy voter base, raised the issue directly with Trump during a tense phone call. But Trump unyieldingly reportedly dismissed the concerns, suggesting India should focus on creating jobs at home. The comment, leaked to the Indian press, ignited a firestorm, editorial cartoons depicting Trump as a modern-day colonialist, dictating terms to the sovereign nation. The phrase "Trump arrogance" became a rallying outcry. Now, as the tipping point came in March of 2025, during a high-stakes Quad summit in Tokyo, the event was meant to showcase unity against China's assertiveness in the South China Sea. But Trump's remarks stole the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. In a press conference, he downplayed India's role in the alliance, calling it a junior partner and questioning its military readiness. "We're carrying all the load here," he said, gesturing to U.S. and Japanese leaders. He further went on to say that India needs to step up or step aside. The comments were a diplomatic disaster. In India, they were seen as an insult to national pride, especially given the country's growing military prowess and its frontline role in countering China along the Himalayan border. Indian veterans and nationalist groups took to the streets, burning American flags and demanding an apology. Modi, known for his measured diplomacy, issued a rare public rebuke, stating, "India is no one's junior partner. Our contributions to global security speak for themselves." The Indian media, already critical of Trump's tariffs and visa policies, went into overdrive. Republic TV ran a week-long series titled "Trump's War on India," while The Hindu published a scathing editorial accusing the U.S. of strategic myopia. On other social media platforms, Indian users shared memes juxtaposing Trump's comments with images of India's aircraft carriers and missile tests, captioning with phrases such as, "Junior, watch us soar." Behind closed doors, Indian diplomats began exploring alternatives to U.S. partnership, Meetings with Russian and French officials intensified, and India accelerated its push for self-reliance in defense manufacturing. The message was clear: if Trump's America doesn't value India, India would find other allies. Now, looking at the people's anger, by May of 2025, the rift had permeated every level of Indian society. In rural Maharashtra, farmers whose exports were hit by U.S. tariffs joined urban tech workers in condemning Trump's policies. In Kolkata, students organized debates on American hypocrisy. While in Chennai, Bollywood stars lent their voices to anti-Trump campaigns. The hashtag Boycott America gained traction, with calls to shun U.S. brands like Apple and Coca-Cola. The anger wasn't just economic, it was cultural. Trump's brash style, once seen as refreshing by some Indians, now came across as disrespectful. His failure to acknowledge India's contributions to global innovation, security, and climate goals grated on a nation that prided itself on its rising global stature. One shopkeeper in Delhi's Connaught Place went on to say he treats us like a third world country. We're not his colony. Even India's opposition parties, often at odds with Modi, united in their criticism of Trump. Rahul Gandhi, leader of the Congress Party, accused the U.S. of economic imperialism, while regional leaders called for a re-evaluation of India's foreign policy. The bipartisan outrage signaled a rare moment of national unity, but it came at the cost of a once promising alliance. As spring turned to summer, the U.S.-India relations hung in a delicate balance. Trump, facing domestic pressures and midterm elections, showed little interest in mending fences. His administration doubled down on its policies, framing them as non-negotiable pillars of American sovereignty. In India, Modi faced a dilemma: continue engaging with an unpredictable partner or pivot towards a more independent foreign policy. For the Indian people, the anger was palpable but not irreversible. Many still admired the U.S. for its innovation and democratic ideals, but trust had eroded. "We don't hate Americans," said one young entrepreneur in Pune. "We just want respect." Whether that respect would come depended on whether or not Trump's administration could see India not as a pawn in its global chess game, but as a partner with its own dreams and its own dignity. In the streets of New Delhi, the monsoon finally arrived, washing away the dust but not the discontent. The rift across the ocean had grown too wide to ignore, and India, proud and resolute, was ready to chart its own course, whether America followed or not. Now, we should also bring up several more recent events that have also been in the news and causing even further anger between the India government and those in Washington. Now, the rift deepened here in March when Trump made a stunning claim during a press conference at Mar-a-Lago. He boasted that his administration had brokered a historic ceasefire between India and Pakistan, ending decades of tension over Kashmir. The announcement, met with applause from his supporters, was met with disbelief in New Delhi. No such ceasefire existed. India and Pakistan had maintained a fragile status quo along the line of control, with no U.S. mediation involved. India further went on to state that it was bilateral talks that led to that, not Donald Trump or the U.S. Now, Indian officials were livid. The Ministry of External Affairs issued a rare statement debunking Trump's claim, calling it baseless and misleading. Modi, addressing Parliament, emphasized that India's sovereignty over Kashmir was non-negotiable and required no further intervention, or foreign intervention, my apologies. The Indian media erupted, accusing Trump of fabricating a diplomatic win for political gain, which is something that we've seen a lot of with this Trump administration. NDTV ran a segment titled "Trump's Kashmir Lie," while other users online mocked him with memes showing him signing blank peace deals. The falsehood stung deeply because it trivialized India's complex security challenges, and one person went on to state he's using our pain for his headlines, and that was a retired India general. For a nation fiercely protective of its sovereignty, Trump's claim was not just a lie, it was a very deep insult. Now, as if the ceasefire claims weren't enough, reports surfaced on April 2025 that the Trump Organization was partnering with Pakistani business tycoons on a cybersecurity venture and direct investments in real estate. The deal, reportedly spearheaded by Trump's family members, aimed to launch a Trump coin and develop luxury properties in Karachi. While the Trump Organization framed it as a private business move, India saw it as a strategic betrayal. Pakistan, which is India's arch rival, was receiving what appeared to be a financial endorsement from Trump's inner circle. Indian intelligence agencies raised concerns that the investments could bolster Pakistan's economy, potentially fueling its military ambitions. Indian analysts online speculated about conflicts of interest, questioning whether Trump's foreign policy was swayed by his family's business dealings. Trump slaps tariffs on us but builds crypto with Pakistan. This is personal, tweeted one prominent Indian economist. Now, the Indian government lodged a formal protest demanding clarity on the Trump Organization's ties to Pakistan. The U.S. response, vague assurances that the deals were private, only fueled suspicion. In Mumbai, protesters burned posters of Trump alongside Pakistani flags, a rare fusion of national grievances. The perception that Trump was cozying up to Pakistan while sidelining India is deepening the sense of betrayal. Add to that the fact that we also saw the final straw come this month in May, when Trump publicly pressured Apple to halt its manufacturing expansion in India. Apple had invested heavily in India, building factories in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka to diversify its supply chain from China. The facilities employed tens of thousands and symbolized India's rise as a global manufacturing hub. But Trump, obsessed with bringing jobs back to the U.S., demanded that Apple prioritize American factories. In a televised speech, he warned if Apple wants to sell in America, they better build in America, not India. The ultimatum infuriated India. Apple's investments had created jobs and boosted Modi's Make in India campaign. Trump's demand was seen as an attack on India's economic ambitions. Workers at Apple's Chennai plant staged walkouts, and industry leaders accused Trump of sabotaging India's growth. He wants us to stay a market, not a manufacturer, said tech CEO on CNBC India. Meanwhile, on X, boycott Apple, hashtag boycott Apple trended alongside hashtag Trump hates India, with calls to shun U.S. products. Modi, under pressure from unions and businesses, vowed to protect India's manufacturing goals behind the scenes. Indian diplomats began courting European and Japanese firms to fill any gap left by Apple, signaling a shift away from U.S. reliance. Now, as we can see, this just continues to get worse and worse when it comes to Donald Trump and his international connections and what were, of course, allies. He continues to burn bridges and, of course, erode and decay the trust that once led America's growth. Of course, now we see where the Trump family is aligning, and that is with their own pocketbooks, not with the well-beings of everyday average Americans, nor do they care about the world in which they are trading in. If it doesn't benefit the Trump family, the Trump Organization, or Donald Trump himself, of course, it is not going to work. Now, taking that a step further, we know that Trump wants to become a long-term ruler of the world, not just of the United States. With his arrogant and ignorant comments and memes that come out every now and again, ranging from becoming the next pope to him being, we won't even go to the rest of them. But regardless, the fact that he is neurotic, he is out of his mind, and he has no place ruling the United States. And let's face it, he couldn't rule a 7-Eleven night shift if that was left to his control without burning down the store. Once again, you've been watching ProPix TV. I'm James Kuzno with Live Chat with James. Thank you for tuning in. Stay tuned for another episode tomorrow as we will explore the headlines locally, nationally, and around the world with special features. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, and invite others. And one final reminder also that you can find us on Spotify, Audible, Apple TV, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and most other podcast platforms, and of course on all social media platforms. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. And once again, thanks for tuning in for this episode of Live Chat with James from the ProPic Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia.